Welcome to Learning the Ropes. I'm Matt.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Tyler.
And today we've got a really good one.
And then that was a really concise opening for once. I don't feel great about that.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
I made a promise with myself to not actively try and fuck up the intro this time.
So, anyways, I would vote for James Cameron if he was going to be president. But yeah, moving on.
You know, sure. I don't know what he believes, but
He has perfect politics. Okay.
hell yeah. Same with Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, James Cameron. I'll extend that status.
Can we get James Cameron and Jesse Ventura on here? I would die.
On the same episode?
I would die. I would do cocaine, and I would die. Sorry, Balda. sorry, Matt.
We have to derail somewhere. We decided on the back end this time. Anyway, Tyler, what do you know about Shawn Michaels?
Oh, I know that he's the best wrestler ever besides Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Incorrect. That is incorrect.
but also I know that Bret Hart's the best besides Shawn Michaels.
Yes, that is correct.
So that's what
Shawn Michaels, the GOAT, the Heartbreak Kid, the Showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, probably the most influential wrestler of the last 50 years. He's the first real main event high flyer. Obviously we have Randy Savage, but this
I feel like we just have this conversation in the last episode.
No, kind of, but not about Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Was that off mic? Maybe it wasn't off mic. It wasn't off mic. It's fine.
Extremely
charismatic. I'm gonna play both sides, so I come out on top. They're both the best.
The Mac option.
Yeah, as you'll see, he's extremely charismatic. Influences fucking everyone from Jeff and Matt Hardy to Chris Jericho to Kevin Owens to AJ Styles, Bryan Danielson, Seth Rollins, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, Young Bucks. If there's a really good wrestler right now, they're probably inspired by Shawn Michaels. His career spans from 1984 until his retirement in 2010. And because this is wrestling, Tyler, his final match is in 2018. But he retired in 2010.
Interesting.
And then, in the later parts of his career, up until even today, he's taken up a mentor role within WWE. He's main booker for NXT, their developmental brand, and was before Triple H's second in command in NXT, and has helped shape the careers of guys like Aleister/Malachi Black, Braun Breaker, the current NXT champion, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, just countless others.
MJF. No, I'm joking.
No, not MJF. I mean, I
sort of.
There's a lot of Shawn Michaels in MJF.
But
you're saying he's his dad?
I feel like the Shawn Michaels that's in MJF is actually the Ric Flair that's in Shawn Michaels.
Yes, it's one of those generational things.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, so this is the first of 3 Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels matches for the WWF Championship that we're going to cover over the course of this podcast. This is Survivor Series 1992. Basically, in October 92, Bret Hart beats Ric Flair to become the WWF champion. And his first defense is set. Shawn's another rising star, so they just pick that guy, and they're like, all right, you guys, they'd already kind of been, they work together in tag teams, obviously, and so they're kind of a dependable duo, despite their feelings for each other behind the scenes.
Yeah, and at this point, Shawn Michaels has gone solo. He leaves his former Rockers partner, Marty Jannetty, and we will talk more about the Rockers and Marty Jannetty next week. And he becomes one of the hottest acts in the WWF in the process. Just trailblazing, he's very unique style of wrestling, kind of really driving things forward for him.
Yeah. Shawn would become Intercontinental Champion after beating the British Bulldog, kind of as Davey got. We talked about that, like, one of the times that he left WWF was because of a steroid or, like, doping. It was, what, HGH?
Yeah, it was HGH.
But yeah, so he was getting fired for that, and so they had plans for Survivor Series for the British Bulldog to defend the Intercontinental Championship against the Mountie. But those were scrapped with British Bulldog getting sent out of the company. Yeah, the Mountie.
Is he Canadian?
I don't know if the man himself was a Canadian person, but his character, like, his gimmick was that he was just straight up a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Oh, okay, cool. No, just making sure that I got that part right. All right, cool.
His real name is Jacques Rougeau.
That sounds French Canadian.
He is Quebecois.
Fucking loser. What a loser. Imagine being fucking Canadian.
Imagine being... and
shout out to our Canadian listeners.
Shout out to... Dude, I'm from Michigan, so I gotta respect Canada. They're too much of a threat.
I think we can take them, except the Moose.
Yeah.
The Moose are pretty hard.
But yeah, so the Mountie doesn't get his match, unfortunately, because they just put the IC belt on Shawn and are like, it's champion versus champion. We're just doing this, no Intercontinental Championship match on Survivor Series. And so now Shawn is ready to face the GOAT, Bret Hitman Hart, for the biggest prize in wrestling, the WWF championship, the WWF title. Making this Shawn's first, like, really big test in the main event. The Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels versus champion Bret Hitman Hart.
Yeah, at the Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio. And let's go ahead and let's watch this shit. And we're back.
Hello.
Mr. Tyler.
I'm on the Hart train. I'm gonna ride the Hart train.
Hell the Hart train.
It's just 2v1 now.
I'm so proud of you.
In this match, this is still proto Shawn. We have not. When we get to more of Shawn Michaels, you will see how good he is.
Excuses.
Sounds like it. Yeah, okay. See, like, the first time I saw Bret, I liked him, though.
Ooh.
And I liked him last week.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
The cope. Striking that copium right now.
I think we can agree, though. Shawn Michaels definitely the gayer of the two.
That's hard.
Without
probably, yeah.
They're very different energies of gay, Shawn and Bret.
He did wear assless chaps over his tights on his way.
Well, that's just practical. Okay, that's just practical. Extra layers of protection.
I can't wait until I'll spoil it. There's a point where he sings his own theme song.
Oh way, that's
and
awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah, so this is the song is called "Sexy Boy." Currently in the version that we listened to of his entrance, it's Sensational Sherry, his manager, who sings it. But yeah, they ended up switching it up to where Shawn Michaels himself sings it, and it's so good. It's really good.
Does Shawn Michaels stay heel for the most part?
Up until his first retirement, right?
Yeah.
Up until his back injury, he's predominantly a heel. There might have been instances where he wrestled face. I mean, he was a face as part of the Rockers. But solo Shawn, especially at this time, definitely mostly a heel. I mean, he kind of has one of the more punchable faces in wrestling, especially.
Yeah, he plays it up. Plays it up pretty good, though.
The beginning interview with Sean Mooney is great.
That's fantastic.
You could tell that he is inspired by Ric Flair in his promo.
He's feeling himself the whole time.
Oh yeah. And it's good. And this match is good. I think
Yeah,
they mesh
pacing-
really well.
Stylistically, they work really well together. The kind of high flyer and technician thing has always been a really good combination, and I think they really played that up here. It was great.
I might have a hot take. I think I liked last week's better when it was Bret and
Bulldog.
Bulldog.
yeah, and the Bulldog.
I kind of agree. I think. But
Yeah,
Maybe that one was just because it was like I mean like we talked about how like Bret kind of had to carry it. Maybe that's why it was better because I like his kind. Like I think I prefer like his style right now over like what I've seen. But yeah, I don't know. I think that match I had more fun with. This one was good. The pacing was. There was kind of like a little bit of like a lull like in the middle, and then at the end it kind of all went off. But like there was kind of a lull for a little bit like in the middle, which I don't know how I feel about that.
I think, that's fair. I think aside from stylistically, like in terms of like their actual like styles of wrestling, I think one of the really interesting like juxtapositions that they have is their selling.
Oh yeah, it's like they both have great like ring presence, but they're opposites kind of. I feel like.
Yeah.
We're like I feel like Bret's a little more like stoic kinda, and fucking Shawn Michaels is very much doing the Ric Flair thing of being like of being kind of like a weasel, and it's great.
Yeah, and he's kind of a cartoon character. Like he just
literally, yeah.
Because like one of the moments that we kind of popped for was the back suplex that Bret hits on Shawn.
Great suplex.
And just the way Shawn bumps that compared to like anyone else, I think is interesting. Just like that over the top selling, we end up seeing a lot more.
He ragdoll shit like a fucking video game sometimes. Like he straight up ragdoll. This is great.
It's Shawn is wrestling on Gmod physics, and and like Bret Hart is the complete opposite. It's kind of the crux of like what's so great and iconic about the Bret and Shawn rivalry is that they're these two like polar opposites that couldn't stand each other behind the scenes. We'll get more into that in later episodes. I was
gonna ask. I was gonna ask that. I'm like, were they friends outside the ring? Oh man, that's cool.
But yeah, so they're iconically they hated each other back in the 90s, and they were just too good together in the ring to keep apart. Because like they were just the best, that like nobody was matching them. So it's like you kind of just have to keep throwing those guys together. They keep making magic. Because their styles are just the right amount of. It's like complementary colors like across the color wheel. Like you're just like, oh yeah, those two things work together super well, and it kind of just makes things worse, but also really great wrestling. Yeah.
What was Tyler? What was your favorite like spot from the match?
Suplex.
That suplex, yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you go ahead.
I mean, like, I think he just has like the best looking suplex of that like I've seen so far. It's always cool. It always looks cool. Like when like when we're watching it like fucking last week, like they were always sick.
Yeah. I feel like you also popped really hard for the Shawn Michaels getting whipped into the corner and just like flying onto the top rope and getting.
Oh yeah, you getting all tangled up.
Yeah.
The first moments where he got a launch out of the ring that were sick too. I don't remember all of them, but like they're pretty explosive.
Yeah,
like they go airborne sometimes.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about Shawn being almost like spring-loaded sometimes. Like it seems like he's spring-loaded. Like he hits the floor and bounces off the floor a lot of the time.
And
they're actually one of the things we haven't really talked about in terms of like this podcast is like in the actual wrestling ring. So they actually these two guys end up causing WWE to change how they build their rings. So the previous generation of wrestlers was your, Hulk Hogan's, Andre the Giant's, Macho Man's, these really, really big and heavy dudes. And so a wrestling ring at its core is, you have a steel frame, and then you will have steel crossbeams, and then wooden slats. They're usually 2x16 like planks that'll go across the length of the ring, right? And the amount of metal crossbeams that you put changes the properties of the ring in terms of how springy it is. And so at the time, it was much more reinforced in steel because you had the really big guys who didn't want to bump and like snap a 2x16 in half, So it was like heavily steel reinforced, and Stone Cold Steve Austin talks about it in his podcast. That it was just at this period of time, it was one of the worst rings to bump in because you were basically bumping on wood, like on wood that wasn't giving. Because it's a real thin mat that they put on top of the wood. The ability to like protect yourself in a bump comes from how springy the wood is, rather than so much by how thick whatever padding you have on top of the ring is. And so with these guys that are just throwing themselves everywhere, they eventually switch to reduce the amount of reinforcement so that they can more safely bump and not just be landing on just an extremely hard surface, and that makes Shawn even more bouncy.
Yeah, he hits like a diving back elbow in this match where like it feels like he covers so much ground in the air. Like they become like fighting game characters. Like, more so than they had ever been before, where it's just like, how are they doing all these air moves and like bouncing all around and doing all this crazy shit?
Yeah, it for sure seems like it's like more distinct than the stuff that we've seen like in the past. Like there's like a shift happening.
Yeah, it's definitely a noticeable change. Some would call it a new generation.
But
anyway,
was that supposed to mean something? Wait, that little psst that just happened? Was that?
Oh, did you not
like...
hear the but?
That was the symbol. Yeah, that's the symbol.
I didn't hear the but I just heard the psst.
My joke was punctuated by drums, so it was the cymbal crash.
That's how you know it's a good joke. It's a banger.
Yeah, absolutely. The mark of every good comedian.
Now, this is the part of the show where we rate the match, and we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to have Tyler start it off.
3.5. 3.5 off the bat. I liked it. I liked it less than Bulldog. Talking about it more, I like it more. I was gonna give it a 3 like right after the match, but after we started to talk about it, I've come to like it more. But still, like there were some spots in it that were just kind of like slower to watch, where I felt like it wasn't like as capacity. I think maybe going forward and watching what this like evolves into, I'll like it more. But right now, yeah, it was good, but not great.
Yeah, I agree with you. It definitely has some pacing issues, and it really is just like showing you what's to come. Like I said, this isn't prime Shawn yet. Like Shawn is still finding himself in the ring.
Excuses.
And some of the when we get to some of the other matches in the trilogy of matches that they have that we're gonna cover. I mean, they have more than 3 matches, but we're watching the 3 important ones. As we kind of get, I mean, even whenever we get to the second match in the series, you'll see how drastically different Shawn Michaels becomes in the ring, and how much of a better performer he is. And I think it definitely left me wanting to see more of them, but I felt like it was still not. The match wasn't as polished as some of the other things that we've seen. So I'm gonna give it 3.25.
Fair.
Yeah. Now, last up.
I think I'm feeling a 3.75 on it. It's definitely I agree with what both you guys kind of say. Shawn spends a lot of the middle of this match just like cranking on some rest holds. Which kind of
he even says it. No.
Yeah.
It was Shawn, right? It was like, you've been working my arm the whole match or something like that, right? He was like, all you do is work my arm.
Yeah. But yeah, they spent a lot of time there, and that kind of drags the pacing for me. But all the other stuff is just like, these are 2 of the best, and they're always doing something cool, and something that I can enjoy, which is just, it's really impressive. I'm excited to see where this goes. What'd Big Dave say?
Big Dave gives this match 4.5 stars. I definitely think that this match, that the match we saw last week, Bulldog versus Bret, is better than this. So I'm a little shook to see Big Dave be so wrong.
Being wrong about something, I know. What the hell? He must be the fucking pro here. He's not.
Sometimes you don't check on your friends, and they do things that you can't explain. We gotta do better for our friend Dave.
Yeah, we'll see. Fuck, I don't even know what I was gonna say.
Edit that.
Edit that. Cut that out.
Cut that shit. Fuck.
We gotta support Dave Meltzer so that he can understand which wrestling matches are better than which.
Yes, we do.
He lost his way on this one, and we should have been there to catch him before he fell.
Yeah. And now, Tyler, to give a little prelude for next week, you remember how I mentioned that Shawn Michaels at this point has gone solo, and the Rockers are no longer a thing?
Yes.
We're gonna look into that next week as we're gonna watch. We're gonna see how the Rockers fall apart and where they end up. It'll be slightly different of an episode. We're gonna watch a couple of clips, then a match next week instead of just a match. And with that, does anyone have any last minute things they need to throw out?
Like, subscribe, comment, rate, share with your friends so we can get that ad revenue. I have 3 dogs I have to feed, and if we don't get ad revenue, they're gonna have to eat me. One of them will consume me. He's 100 pounds. Okay, so yeah, share with your friends.
Please save the young lion
for my sake.
Please.